Good afternoon. Good morning for your colleagues. So, as Sophie said, we're going to briefly introduce the CADRI tool, basically the basic structure, and then after we're going to present live demo with our colleague who is helping us with the development of the application. So I don't know what went wrong with the screen. Just wait for a little second so we get back the screen presentation. Well, while screen comes back, then we just can continue. Basically, as CADRI, as Sophie was saying, and also the colleagues before were explaining, the main purpose of the CADRI tool is to really provide a guidance to the assessor and planners to conduct these capacity diagnosis assessments at the country level. So the idea is to have a common analytical frame that allows us to do this. The users, the tool is intended to be used by government experts, by the UN country teams, national society, CADRI and global experts, UNDAC, different actors that are involved in the field of disaster reduction, and then can use the tool to help countries identify their achievements, their gaps, and then plan to implement how to improve this their management of risks at the country level. Arnold, can we share the screen? The tool is as we said, is a one analytical frame, a common analytical frame. But the idea is that this tool can meet different needs that the country has. So the idea is that we can assess the disaster reduction, climate change capacities that the country has. Also can also be used, as Sophie was also mentioning, can be customized, can be more specific and assess or look at the disaster preparedness capacities. Can also look at climate change adaptation, but can also look at other components, specific components, for instance, like risk information capacity. How are we dealing, how is the country dealing with information? What are the infrastructure, the data that is being provided, the information that is being provided to support decision making in these different fields. And the other component, the other possibility is also to have this integration between DRR, climate change, and looking at the connectivity with conflict sensitivity. We call this Nexus approach. Nexus. The capacity diagnosis also. What do we do with the results of this capacity diagnosis? That is because the idea is not only to conduct the analysis, the diagnosis, but also to use those inputs, that information that we gather, to plan for better, to improve the systems, to improve the capacities at the country level and different aspects. So we have, as in previous cases, and also what Sophie was saying, has been used to develop national disaster reduction strategies. We're also looking at how to support, how to complement the strategies that are mainly focused on climate change adaptation. But we're also looking at how to inform national contingency planning, how to better be prepared for response or for recovery, and also different aspects in that specific field. How to go to the sectoral level and how to identify entry points for risk reduction in national development plans. How do we make this link and make it more evident that the sector at the sectoral level is where we really can implement actions to reduce risk? Where can we invest to reduce risk? As also, well, Sophie already mentioned this and has been mentioned several times too, that the inputs, the results of the diagnosis can also be used for different elements, and in particular also we're emphasizing the development of the sustainable development cooperation framework, where we have this integration of DRR and climate change and risk, looking at development components. So how do we integrate these inputs in that specific process? For specifically also looking at the joint UN program, how the different agencies can work together and prepare for a common intervention. And of course, all this has to go in the direction also the looking for funding possibilities. How can we use these inputs, these programs, these actions to facilitate, look for joint funding possibilities. Which capacities do we diagnose? So we are looking at basically the tool is the methodology is looking at two main actors. Its primary focus is national and local, the public sector, how the government is dealing with disaster risk reduction, both at national and local level. And the secondary focus, if we say, if we really is the more like the private sector, civil society organization. When this is something that is key for the implementation of the methodology that is participatory. So in the process, we have interventions from the governments, but also actors from the private sector, from the civil society in the process. But we mainly focus, or the methodology mainly focus on the capacities at the national, local level, I mean the government at those government sector at these levels. So this is what we have. And it's something very specific. We have been talking about capacities, but how do we define capacities? So this is something like we like to, I don't know if we have already the, next, then the next one then, because this is the I think the core of the methodology is how do we define capacities? What are we looking at when we say we're going to diagnose the capacities of a country to deal with disaster reduction, climate change adaptation? So the tool, the methodology is structured around 5 components. It's governance, the implementation, what we call the implementation capacity, financing, knowledge, and technology and equipment. But what do we mean by governance? Or what do we mean by these different elements? So Arnold, if you go with the next one, please. So governance, when we say, we call it, this is the capacity dimension, this is the core element that we're going to look at. We would like to understand the governance for DRR at the country, at the national level, local level. So we are going to look at specific related legislation, policies, what are the institutional mandates and arrangements, roles and responsibilities? How are these things defined at the country level? How are these elements defined at the country level? And then we look at the strengths, but also we look at the difficulties, the gaps, those things that we still need to work on, we need to improve. So that's one we call that capacity dimension elements, or how it's called in the methodology. We also look at the implementation capacities, meaning the technical or managerial skills, capacity, competencies from the staff to deal with these issues. No? But we also look at management honesty and planning systems, communication flows and systems. So these are the elements that the methodology that you're going to see how is structured is like questionnaires that are going to provide this guidance to the assessors, to the people that are conducting the capacity diagnosis assessment, to see what are the issues that they need to look at, the key components that they need to look at to understand how the country is dealing with DRR, and where, as I said, where the gaps are. Financing components also. So this is clear. What are the financial instruments? How are they implemented for the different components, both private and public sector? The knowledge. So what are the methodologies for data collection, analysis, and sharing information, generation, dissemination? If they have the databases, they have the information available, or they still need to provide to generate that information. How that information is shared with different actors, between different actors. How that information is also applied for decision making. And finally, the last component is the technology and equipment, which means, okay, how do we support all these activities? We have the material, the resources, the technologies, even the equipment to support the activities that we need to implement at the level of disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation. So this is basically the basic introduction. We are going to do sort of short break here. We're going to go with a quiz to see how good we have been transmitting our message, and also see, as Ilya said at the beginning, if you are still with us. And then after this is this very short quiz, we're going to present a demo of the tool, the progress we have made so far with the development of the tool. And then that we're going to have our expert in that field, consultant that has been working. So let's go to the quiz. This is a section that normally is conducted by our colleague Carla Lienhard, but she's a bit she's not feeling well, so I'm going to do my best to see if I to manage this section. So we're going to share, the mechanic is simple. We're going to share on the screen the questions, a couple of questions, and you're going to have just 30 seconds to answer the question. And for those who cannot follow the questions on live on the screen, I'm going to publish on the chat the link to that questionnaire. So you can also follow, and you can just click and simply answer the questions. They're very simple questions. So I'm going to now to share. If Bianca, please, can you share the poll? I'm going to share now. I'm going to share now for my chats. So the first question is about this, what we have been discussing now. So did we mention how many organizations constitute the CADRI Partnership now? Please let me know if you cannot access the forms, the chat or online. So if you just answer, and we're gonna see the results immediately online. We have a number, good number. Okay, so the answer, the correct answer. Well, also you got it right. No, 20 organizations are participating in the CADRI Partnership now. Bianca, you can confirm if you have if you can access the quest on the chat. So the CADRI technical partners had a commitment to deploy expertise when required in response to government UNCT requests. Is this true or is this false? And if you think this was not addressed during our talk, then you can also post it in the chat and say, well, I don't know, you didn't mention it. Yeah. We are still missing some responses. 20. I think this is still, seems like it's a bit harder. 24 responses, all are true. But you all know the answer now. No, it's true. All the CADRI technical partners have this commitment to deploy expertise, and that's the way CADRI Partnership works. Okay, we go to the next one. The CADRI Partnership services can be directly mobilized by UNIC teams without a government request. Is this true or is it false? It's divided here, true, false. So, yeah, I mean, one of the conditions for the deployment of the CADRI Partnership is the request from the government. Should be this commitment from the government to actually implement this. Okay, next question. Which partner agency hosts CADRI in the Asia Pacific region? So this one is easy, huh?
Bianca, I don't think you should be doing the quiz because we see your answers each time. So normally you should not be answering.
Oh, I think it's Arnold sharing the screen. It's his screen.
Okay, it's providing guidance, you see. Okay, yeah. CADRI, the agency that hosts CADRI in the region, in the Asia Pacific region, is UNDRR. Syria is conducting and facilitating this webinar. Great. Next question. How many countries receive support from the CADRI Partnership in the Asia Pacific region to date? Have received, not are in the pipeline, just have received support. No pipeline, but just have actually received the support. So it's increasing. Not two, but one, if I'm not mistaken. No, just because we have Maldives and Timor-Leste in the pipeline, but support has been to Laos. So it's Laos. It's one, the answer. Okay, next one, please. If I'm going too fast, you tell me. The CADRI tool was revised to integrate leaving no one behind and conflict sensitivity principles. Is this true or is this false? One of the key elements of this, when we moved from the CADRI, the analog version that we had, the questionnaire, the Excel questionnaire, to the digital version, was also to revise the methodology to include other key elements. So we're asking if this was included. Yeah. Maybe no one behind and conflict sensitivity were the key issues that were included in the new methodology, how to address these issues with the different, provide guidance to address these issues. Okay, great. Most of you got it. Next one. Which of these report types are supported by the CADRI digital tool? Well, here we can answer several multiple answers are possible. So which ones are? As we were discussing now, the idea is that to have a common analytical frame that could also meet different needs. In this case, this is like what we are, the method is intending to do, to have a common analytical frame that can be customized, that can be adapted to meet different needs. So in this case, we have can have the disaster reduction, climate change, capacity diagnosis, the risk information capacity, preparedness and diagnosis, and climate change. We don't have like a resilient recovery capacity. We have a preparedness and a resilient recovery is part of the process, but it's not. Okay. Next one. Almost. The CADRI digital tool will also be available for governments to use without CADRI support. This means, as we said, this is the methodology, the guidance that is provided to different actors to conduct the capacity diagnosis assessment. So we are saying here is whether this is also available for the governments and they don't need the intervention of the partnership to use the tool. Is this true or is this false? Which is also important in terms of what we want to achieve. It's true. This is also a key element of the possibility of the digitalization, no? That they can governments can access the tool and can have control on how to use the tool, how to deploy the tool, the methodology. The next one. The CADRI digital tool will allow for more inclusive and participative prioritization of investment in DRR. Is this true or is this false? This can be tricky indeed, but the purpose, of course, is that the information that is collected, that the results that we have, the capacity diagnosis assessment can allow this, no? But also we know that certain factors also need to be considered, and the commitment of the country, the different actors at the country level, at the national, regional level are also important to allow this, that we have more inclusive, more participatory prioritization of investment in DRR. It's not only the results, but we also need other factors to make this possible. These people are doubting here. Still have only 16 responses. Okay. Okay, we go to the next one. The next question. This was the last question. We were missing one question. Okay, there was a less serious question about it. So, okay, thanks to you. Let me see if I can show you the results of the other quiz if people could not access the. Okay, no, I think they all could access the live version. So now we're going to move to the technical session. We're going to give the floor to our colleague Bogdan. He's going to show us a live demo of the tool. We are saying the tool, we're in the process of the development of the tool, the application, but we're going to see what we have done so far, and Bogdan is going to explain us more about this. Thanks for your participation in the quiz. Bogdan, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone, I am Bogdan Spătaru, user interface designer. I have joined CADRI early this year and helped with creating the digital tool. I'm now going to share my screen and make a short demo. I hope everyone can see my screen. Today, I'm going to present you some key features of the tool we are developing. At this point, the tool has a functional interface, and we can show you some of the most important functionality that will be developed inside the tool. We are still working on the backend development of the tool, but for today's demo's purpose, I can shortly present you the most important sections of the tool. In the first part of my demo, I will present the main core of the tool, which is the question bank. The question bank is a very flexible feature of the tool and can be customized in many different ways. Here, all the questions displayed under different levels are stored in our tools. Users and agencies can build a set of questions to use in their missions or individually outside of a mission purpose. The question bank can be filtered by different tags, like capacities, report types, modules, hazards, and principle. Currently, the questions you see now in this demo are just a small part of the database. They are used just for this demo purpose. In the final live application, we will populate the question bank with a large volume of questions. Agency and users have options inside the tool to recommend and propose new questions that will populate the question bank. Let's do an example and filter the question bank by selecting, for example, a capacity and a principle. Let's select, for example, the capacity governance and a principle like leave no one behind. The question bank will filter the question, taking in consideration these tags we selected. We'll display core aggregated question, first order question, and second order question related to governance and leave no one behind. Again, these questions are just for demo purposes, and of course in the live application, when doing a filtering like this, the results will display a larger volume of questions. Let's do another example of filtering. Let's select a capacity, for example, financing, and the same principle, leave no one behind. Again, the question bank will be filtering, taking in consideration the tags we selected and showing the related questions that belong to the capacity financing and principle like leave no one behind. Like I said before, the purpose of filtering the question bank is to allow agency and users to build a set of custom questions which they can use inside their mission or individually outside of a mission purpose. In the second part of this demo, I will cover the process of planning a CADRI capacity diagnosis mission, customizing the capacity diagnosis based on country context and interest. The first step in the process of planning a capacity diagnosis is to create a mission. From our main dashboard interface, we are going to the section where the missions are created. On this section, the user will select first the mission type. There are 4 types of mission which can be selected now in our tool. We can create a scoping mission, a capacity diagnosis mission, prioritization in planning, and monitoring. Let's select, for example, a capacity diagnosis. Then the user will select a country. Let's select Indonesia, for example. We can select a type of report that will be created at the end of the mission. We have different types of report which can be selected. Let's select one, for example. We add a date, and a title is generated automatically from the mission information. The next step in creating the mission will be to select the modules. We can select one or more modules. For example, let's select WASH, agriculture and food security, and let's say infrastructure. After, we can select some hazards. We can select again one or more hazards. Let's select, for example, earthquake, floods, and let's say tsunami. Based on these selected options, in the back end of the tool, a frame composed from the specific question filtered by this selection is created automatically. We are calling this a country analytical frame. The second step in the process of planning is to map and deploy a multidisciplinary team. From our interface, we are going to the section where the mission is created. Here, after creating the mission, a user with a specific role can build and structure a team that will work together in the mission process. For each of the users selected, a role will be assigned depending on his main specialization. The next step in the process of planning will be to assign responsibility to the team members. This process will happen in the question frame we initially created when we started the mission, the one we called country analytical frame. Here, a set of questions grouped under a specific module and the capacity can be assigned to one or the more users that belong to the team we just created. The third part of this demo is about conducting the capacity diagnostic. At this step, inside the mission, all the team members have assigned to them a specific set of questions. Depending on their specialization, team members have options to refilter the set of questions assigned to them. For example, they can refilter the question assigned to them by adding a new principle. For example, leave no one behind. All the questions will be filtered taking in consideration the new tag we just added. Next, I will present you the tool ability to monitor progress, compile the information gathered by the assessor, and build a final report. So from our interface, we are going back to the mission section. Inside the mission section, user can follow the progress of data provided by each member. Going inside his assigned set of questions, each team member will insert data into his set of questions. For example, he can score the question, he can add findings or recommendations. All this data information and gathered from all the users will be compiled into a final report. The final report will contain all the mission data inserted by the users, along with the diagrams that will be automatically created based on the score and user information. In the last part of the presentation, I will talk about building knowledge on sector expertise. From our interface, we are going to the users module where we add new user inside the tool. For each of the users added inside the tool, a profile will be created. Information about his area of specialization, geographical coverage, will be stored, and this way a global expertise database will be created inside the tool. This will facilitate the planning of future missions and will allow the tool users to find an expert easily. That's all I wanted to present you for today. It's just a short teaser of what the tool can do. Like I said, we are still working on the backend development, but I hope you enjoyed. And now we'll hand over to my colleagues. We will open a session of questions and answers. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Bogdan. So today, this webinar is really to give you a bit of an overview of why did we revise the tool, what can you find in the tool, and what the digital functionalities can do for us, how it can also be used independently by government. It can also be used by any agency, meaning that if IOM wants to use the migration, the human mobility module, specifically for IOM, let's say, diagnosis mission, it's also possible to do it, obviously, completely independently from a CADRI partnership mission. So it's a bit like a public domain tool. It will be really easily accessible by the agencies individually, by all the CADRI partners, as well as by interested governments. Now, then we will have, of course, other how to say, webinars. Some of them will be specialized, like there will be a specific webinar on the WASH module and how to use the WASH module, how we integrated config sensitivity in the WASH module, etc. There will be specific webinar which are more like cross-cutting, like on leaving no one behind. So this is really the first of a series of webinars so that we all become familiar with the functionalities of this tool. So now, if you have questions, I hope I can see hand raised. If I cannot, my colleagues, please tell me. But please raise your hand. You can, of course, also write your question in the chat box. And please introduce yourself when you take the floor, and as well as your organization. And any question, of course, is welcome on what was presented to you today. Let me see if I see some hands, because I cannot see everything. Do you see anything, Arnold? Colleagues, don't be shy. Again, this is your tool as well. Your agency have developed it. Yes, Arnold, tell me, because I don't see necessarily the hand raised here.
I can't see any question in the chat box. Let me just scroll down again.
Sophie, I think we have now one question posted in the chat from Sunil. So he's wondering if the user of the tool need any kind of training to use this digital tool from government or from any agency. And as Sunil, I can't recall from which agency you are coming from. So if you don't mind, please share with us from which agency you are joining us. We have quite a few new focal points and colleagues joining on the IVC on the different CADRI partners. The floor is yours.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm Dr. Sunil and I work with Asian Disaster Preparedness Center in Bangkok.
Yeah, I think I do remember
yes.
The ADPC meeting we had, so I remember very well. Nice to see you, Sunil, really, and thank you for your question. So, of course, our objective is for the tool interface to be as intuitive as possible. But what we plan to see right now, so as I said, there will be other webinars on how to register as a user, how to yes, there will be a tutorial. There will be a training tutorial on the tool. But our ambition is that you should be able to use the tool even without really going so much with the tutorial. What we also plan to have is, in addition to the training webinar that we'll organize in every region, we also plan to have a tutorial video exactly because if a government is interested to look at a specific module, they can do so by registering online, and then they can use to be able to be guided. We will have a video tutorial that will be accessible on the CADRI website. But again, what we're really working on right now with the team is how can we make it as intuitive as possible so that it's not necessarily required to have a training, because if the tool is not user friendly, then what will be the point, right? So that's why it's taking time. It's because making it very user friendly is quite a lengthy undertaking. I hope I did answer your question. And there will be another webinar for the region, normally, I think at the end of October, as a tutorial.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it answered the question. Because my concern was more on, because this is a digital tool, so it doesn't mean anybody, like somebody with who has a competent, the right information, because somebody is putting the information. So he should also be a credible person or with some eligibility, that if he is has a knowledge about that area, so that he can put the information. So, but thank you so much for that information. That was useful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Other questions on the tool or the date or the functionality?
We have another question as well on the chat. I think comes from Maria Wernevi from UNAPS, and she's wondering how we discuss this at the concept stage, if there are any examples we can learn from. Perhaps, Sophie, if you could mention also from the example and from the experience in Iran, although for some agencies, Iran is covered through different regional offices. For example, in our case, it's covered from Asia Pacific office. And there is I think, good examples and practices, not exactly with a new digital tool, but on the process that perhaps you would like to share or mention. And for sure, you're also aware of many others that you would like to share.
Yes. So the tool, the methodology, bringing agencies with specialized expertise from within the UN and outside the UN to work under the leadership of government and to be twinned with government experts, to have a team of government, national society, and CADRI experts and UN country team experts to look at, okay, what investments are required in this country context across sectors to actually better understand risk and better integrate risk in our programming, planning, budgeting. This we've done for the past decade. This dynamic, that's what we call this the magic. Like I had a colleague who was calling it the magic of CADRI when it works. There are some countries where it's much more successful than others. But this has been tested in more than 35 countries. The digital tool, so this digital tool is how actually we can bring this magic of CADRI in the digital world without losing the flexibility. It's a bit complex because, of course, we don't want to make it all digital. That's not the intent. But the digital tool, so far, we've not really used it because, as Bogdan was mentioning, it's still in development, exactly because it's always much more lengthy than you think, because it's to make it user-friendly and it's quite complex at the back end of the tool development. But we are really getting very close now to the end. So we've not used it, but the methodology we have used, of course. And in your region, indeed, in some ways, we've used it as a response to a request from the UN country team in Iran and working closely with the government. So right now, actually, we asked, so there is a report available in relation to this engagement with the government of Iran, which I guess has been circulated to you, but we can circulate it again should you be interested. And on the basis of this report, actually, right now the UN SDCF is being, the UN cooperation framework is being developed in Iran, and all the recommendation from joint programming between the agencies in support of capacity development. Our hope is that, of course, it's informing the development of the UNCC. It has informed the UNCC and it's informing the development of the UN cooperation framework, but it's also the basis for a much stronger program of collaboration, specifically around disaster risk reduction between the UN system, the Iran Society of the Red Crescent, and the government. But yes, we did not include country examples here, but we can share them with you. There are also, all the CADRI work is available on our website, all the results. I haven't I mean, I don't know if your question was specifically about CADRI results or about the applications of the tool. But just to say that on the applications of the digital tool right now, we have not used it yet. So we are right now somehow using it for the Kyrgyz Republic, but not yet the digital functionalities. But the new content we are using now in the Kyrgyz Republic, and we have a capacity diagnosis mission starting in the Kyrgyz Republic in 3 weeks, I believe. Other questions?
Yes, thank you.
I think we don't have more questions. Seems everything was clear or wasn't.
Let's hope everything was clear. Again, for us, it's really to start. It's the first of a series of webinars. So each webinar will make it much more concrete, especially when we have like the sectoral specialized one, or when we have the tutorial. So logically, our next webinar is the tutorial at the end of October. But then also by that time, we will be able to draw lessons from the experience in the Kyrgyz Republic to what extent really we are able to much better contextualize our services, because that's really the ambition, is to really adapt and mobilize the expertise in line with the government requirements. If we don't have any more questions right now, maybe we can actually, yes, talk more about the next step, and again encourage you to visit the CADRI website, because we just revised the website, and also informing you that we also completed a review, an inventory of all our partners, all your training modules in disaster risk reduction. So we have about 170 or more, I think, training modules, which are also available, that you can actually see. You can see the wealth of training offer of all our partner agencies on the CADRI website, and you can also access all the country work, the results, etc. So I think this can also, and obviously you can also access the old tool. So the new tool is not live on the website today, but if you are interested to look at sector module, etc., you can access them on the CADRI website. But if there are no more questions at this stage, I will hand over to my colleague Iria for the next steps, which we discussed already a little bit, and then we can close until we see you again for the next webinar. Thank you, but thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you, Sophie, and thanks, colleague. I think it was clear, and I think perhaps people are waiting to see more in the next webinars, to know more in detail. Perhaps just to add that the questions bank is ready, is available, is completed, right? So even if the tool is not fully developed as the digital tool, if any colleagues are interested in having a look at the models at the question banks, that can be made available. And even if, as Sophie was mentioning, this is being tested with new functionality with this new tool right now, there's long story of and long experience of CADRI. So even from sector-specific, sector-focused assessment and any discussions you want to start is possible. You don't need to wait until everything is completed on the front of the digital tool. So just in terms of the next step, this is what has been mentioned. There will be another session with more details and coming soon in this fall, and you are welcome to come in and join, and then you will be able to register and navigate the question bank covering the 9 sectors, and there will be the tutorials on the model for the CADRI experts to be deployed. I think one thing we have been discussing is the interest that there will be more and more colleagues deployed from the regional level. As of now, there has been a mix from central, from headquarters, from regional level, as well as counting with the expertise on the ground for the country teams. I think we really want to encourage the regional agencies to become more familiar and to make their experts available for country capacity diagnosis. We'll share with you more as we get closer to this on the details for the next webinar, and you have the information there and also in the website in terms of CADRI Secretariat colleagues. You have Sophie's and Ruben email. I think we will circulate this PowerPoint as well after webinar, and also you have my email and colleagues that are part of the IBCs. We will meet regularly in different work streams, so feel free to reach out and ask any questions that you may have. And also if you want any previous examples or any concrete sector discussion, Sophie will make sure put you in touch with those who have been more involved in the sector models development and the revision that just happened. So with that, I think we just wanted to thank all participants for coming, especially those joining also from country office. We hope this gives you a flavor of what can be done with the new tool, and for sure we're available as it was done with the Timor-Leste country team to organize some kind of briefing and discussion with UNCTs and country teams at large as needed, to give you more idea of the whole process, products, and what comes. So if the Maldives team is available, we are happy to schedule, and any other country colleagues that might reach out to you, feel free to reach out and we can discuss. And always, I think Sophie is always very available to share previous experiences and to share more details with any country office and any RC office that might be interested. And thanks also to all colleagues from the IBCs and from also other partners organizations, especially IFRC, UNDRR, and ADPC that just joined us today and also contributed to the different tools, and they contribute actively to the missions. So thank you, everyone. Over to you, Sophie, if you have any concluding remarks for the team.
No, thank you. I don't want to keep you longer. We have 1 more minute, I think. Just to say also to thank the government of Luxembourg, who has actually funded all the agencies. I think they were altogether 10 or 12 agencies involved in the development of and updating of this module. So thanking the Luxembourg for this partnership to get us where we are today. Thank you all colleagues, and again, thank to your agencies as well for the engagement in the CADRI Partnership. And then we see you for the next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.